Hello everyone, and welcome to episode 20. Today, we will replace the heating pipe we built recently, because a viewer solved the issue with the astronomical resource and work requirements. I'll explain when we get to it. We will also start using a little more of the construction yard, by temporarily using the local DO to move bitumen there, while we finish building the train network. We will also start expanding the housing in the town, but we will only reach the planning stage today. We will be thwarted by the distance our citizens are willing to walk, so I will be forced to do something I'm not usually a fan of doing. We will also finish building the iron production for the steel mill, so we can eliminate another import from our list of expenses. Alright, let's get to it. First order of business, I'll raise the loyalty required for university students to 30%. I explained my reasoning in the last episode, so I don't want to get into it this time. Next, I'll take advantage of the bulldozers sitting idle, and make room for the housing that will expand our number of workers. I'll go all the way to the rail tracks. They can serve as a convenient city border for now. I'll wait until spring to start planning the houses though, I have other stuff to do. Next, I'll fine-tune the percentages used by the town DO for consumer goods deliveries. I want to make sure that trucks shipping food are always doing so if they can be fully loaded. We can save a few drops of fuel that way. For 2.5 tons of cargo space, and 8.4 tons of storage available, 60% is quite generous for that. 70% would be the most ideal, but with 60%, we can give the clothes and electronics a tiny amount of fuel saving too. Speaking of fuel, I just realized that we don't have any gas stored in the DO, so I'll tell the one at the border to move some over. Also, for some reason, the construction yard's gas station is still assigned to the border DO. We can safely remove it, since it's served by its own local office. I'll also lower the amount of cement deliveries to the silo. 20% is a pretty big amount, and more than enough to supply a couple decent-sized construction projects at once. Oh, and I just noticed that we are yet to move fuel to the local firehouse. Good thing I noticed it, the consequences could have been catastrophic. We need to reconnect the bus station to this footpath. Without it, one of the apartment blocks is out of range, and that is why we started seeing unemployment numbers on the rise recently. Next up, I'll start moving bitumen to this storage tank. I'll be using trucks as a temporary stopgap measure. Once the rail network is complete enough to allow signals without completely messing with the track layer's pathing, I'll start using a train to do this, but for now, trucks will do the trick. I'll only import 10% of its maximum capacity though. That stuff is expensive. Next, I'll make all of the dumper trucks to move over to the new construction yard. They serve their purpose here admirably, but they will be way more useful when they are closer to their pickup points. And we can use the new free spaces in the town CO to house the construction buses. But first, I want them to finish their current jobs. I got tired of waiting, and checked on what they were doing. I completely forgot to pause construction on the oil fields. I mentioned in the previous episode that I want to finish upgrading the road going there, so it will be done faster. The amount of time we save by doing the road first will be worth it. Of course that sent all the dumpers home, so now we can easily reassign them. To make it work though, we will need to tell the CO where to load its materials. We already have the resources here to make concrete and asphalt, and with gravel, we already have 3 building materials available for pickup. As I said, we can buy a couple more buses, so we can move workers to construction sites more efficiently. And I can already tell that building the iron mine and processing will overwhelm our steel production capacity, so taking out a loan is advisable. I will soon need to start moving the steel over to the construction yard with its bigger capacity storage. Having a sizable stockpile hopefully will help us to prevent big bursts of imports. In the last episode, I wanted to start a little experiment, where I'd tell buses to drop off passengers at their starting station if they were not able to be dropped off at their destinations, so they can catch a different one where they have a chance to find work for the day. But to do that experiment, I need a steady unemployment, and as it turns out, we were only having issues because of a broken footpath connection. so it is not yet time to conduct that experiment. I'll disable the ability to drop people off in town for now. Next, I want to tell the gravel train to wait until it fully unloads at the construction yard. Once we have more than one, we will need to disable this, but currently, it's best to not waste power on it running around pointlessly. Also, the 30% student loyalty requirement dropped the numbers down dramatically. Don't worry, it will stabilize soon enough, and we'll be back to having people wait outside for their turn to be educated. Now, about that road going to the oil field. I'll just do the usual, and run a side road for traffic to get by while I upgrade the main path. There is nothing going on at the oil fields right now, so you might be wondering why place this? Well, if we allow more than one constructions to be active at the same time, it will be done faster. Several bulldozers and excavators spreading gravel around is faster than only one doing it. This only applies to the long stretch leading up to the district. There are too many power poles and train tracks around to bother doing it for the last couple segments. There. The main road is ready to be upgraded. Now I'll just go around, and make small connections along the way, so all the segments are reachable at once. I'm not making 90-degree connections. During my test runs, there was a bit of a conflict when trying to do it with parallel roads, resulting in a weird dead-end segment, instead of connecting the roads. They are temporary anyways, so it's not an issue. And that should be it. All the segments will be built in parallel, and now that all the gravel is being picked up in the construction yard, it should be done relatively quickly. Great, winter is over. Soon, we can start rebuilding the pipes, once the weather improves a little more. Next, I want to rearrange these footpaths a little. They are only serving the towers right now, but if we allowed access to them from the nearby roads, they would extend the walking distance of the nearby apartment blocks we last built. I also wanted them to serve as the access point for our new housing blocks, that I want to place in this episode. They will not be enough unfortunately, so we will have to resort to something that I really try to avoid doing in games like this. You'll see what I mean when we get to it. Okay. I think it's time to do something about the heating pipes. I wanted to use this spot for a large heat exchanger, since it is so central to the town. Unfortunately, it is pretty much exactly 1,000 meters away from the heating plant. Going above ground is simply not possible without pumps, and I try to avoid those whenever possible. As a side benefit to using this spot, we managed to get rid of that piece of eyesore near the Ferris wheel, where the two pipe constructions met. So, let's try to hook this up to the heating plant. A viewer suggested that the depth of the pipes were likely the main contributing factor to the astronomical resource requirements I saw with my previous attempts. After testing it, it does seem to be the reason. When I first placed the first large heating pipe underground, I had it go under that big hill, which put it very deep underground. But with this, I'll try to stay as close to the surface as possible, and only do deeper when I have to duck below other stuff, like rails and other pipes and cables. As you can see, the distance between the plant and the exchanger leaves very little wiggle room for us to play with. Finally. It took a couple attempts, but we got there in the end. Since that heat exchanger is almost exactly 1,000 meters away from the plant, there was very little room for error. And this is the end result. A fraction of what was needed to build the other pipe that went under the hill. Now that I know that we can build the pipes underground, and not wait several years to complete them, I'll replace the old one. It's not in the way or anything, I just like being consistent. I don't really know why these pipes have such a hard time going under the railroad. I have to go 3 levels deeper than the surface. Not a big deal, but it interferes with keeping the cost down a bit. Anyways, while we wait for them to be built, let's see what we can do about the worker shortage issue. I decided to go with this tower for this project. It's just a matter of figuring out how to place them in a way that is both functional and not an eyesore. As usual, I'm using the grid, along with the green footprint markers, to make the spacing and alignment as perfect as I can. That feels a bit cramped. I think I'll need to give them a bit more breathing room. Yep, that will do just fine. I'll place another one of this kind of trio of towers right next to it. And since we have a convenient space in the middle, I'll fill it in with a 7th tower, keeping the pattern consistent. Now, this is something I will have to change in the next episode. I wanted to place a disconnected gravel road crossing between the 3 towers facing each other, but I will not be happy with the end result. I will finish building them, but I already know that I will end up deleting them and putting some decoration there instead. I think a fountain will look rather neat. The dirt road is only there so our trucks can reach them, and will be removed once they are finished. Too bad I won't like it in the end. At least it's only a couple tons of gravel that will be wasted on it. In the meantime, the iron mine is progressing nicely, and the processing plant also had some progress made. The oil road is a bit slower than I expected. I guess the pipes started to tie up a lot of the gravel deliveries, splitting the workload between the 2 projects. This patch of dirt has been bothering me for ages. I kept removing it in test games and recording sessions that turned out to be unusable, and I always got annoyed whenever it popped back up again in the live series. But no longer. This is the end. This asphalt plant is no longer useful. All the dumpers assigned for construction are now grabbing it from the central yard. I'll leave it be for now, just in case we ever need it again. It only employs 5 people anyway. I am also very happy with the progress we made on building the mine specifically. I remember the coal mine taking a whole episode to build, and we already have everything delivered for the last phase for the iron mine, and the work days are counting down fast. I think the biggest boost to the speed was the extra buses we bought for the town CO. Speaking of the speed of constructions, I believe it's time to increase the pool of available machinery. One more road crane, and a tower crane should allow us to build a little faster. While looking at the walking distances of the towers, I noticed that I can make a minor improvement to the footpath layout by building a half circle in front of the secret police HQ. I suspect it will end up mostly being a cosmetic upgrade, but it should extend the reach of the new bus station ever so slightly, since the gravel footpaths allow faster walking speeds than even asphalt roads do. A minor improvement, but it might do some good. And we are back to having students queue in front of the lecture halls. But it is way fewer than we had before, so there is at least a chance that everyone will get a turn. Anyways, let's take a look at our population statistics. I'll go with the entire history of the Republic, so we can look at the big picture. Apart from that fatal dip in 1969, happiness, satiation, and health are all fairly stable. It also seems loyalty managed to stabilize recently. Most likely thanks to the second town shop, so people can satisfy their needs. Uneducated people are still looking good, since 2/3 of it is still the babies, with most school-aged children already having basic education. As for college graduates, it's still decreasing. It will take a while to see the full impact of the new loyalty requirements. The first stretch is complete. We can start removing the side roads. Time to lay down the first footpaths for this new housing project. The most important connections are for the 3 towers in the back. They are the hardest to connect up. I think I'll use the middle road. The neighboring towers are too close to go between them, and this arrangement will give us a bit of symmetry. Anyways, we'll need to wait until the middle sections are finished for both sides, so the dirt roads are not blocking our planning efforts. Wow, the mine got built while I wasn't looking. We can start moving people over. And it's not even halfway through the recording. We are really making some progress. The coal mine has 3 buses to ferry workers there. The iron mine is a bit closer to the town, but I think I'll buy the same 3 for it too. My plans are to expand the commuter line for coal anyways, so I'll just match them for now. And the tower crane is already hard at work building the new heat exchanger. For buildings, it is unmatched, but I still like to use road cranes, since they can help building pipes and other infrastructure that the tower crane cannot. Okay. We have everything on site. I'll just increase the number of workers who can walk in from the street, so buses can concentrate on other projects. And done. Once the pipes are connected, we'll have plenty of heating capacity in the town to last us a few years. Well, since one side of the central roads are complete, I'll just do the footpaths there, and do the other side once that's done too. Alright, both sides are finished. Time to plan the rest of the connections. Wonderful. It's not the end of the story, far from it, but the local footpaths are ready to go. With iron production right around the corner, and the storage being pretty much full, I think it's time to start moving the dumpers to do other jobs. I'll select the ones going to the border for pickups, and reassign them to the construction yard. This will speed up gravel and asphalt deliveries tremendously. And the construction office is full. Once the remaining 3 finish their deliveries, I'll just sell them. I know I should have redirected them to the road depot, in case I find some use for them later, but I'm used to just selling and buying vehicles on a whim. Old habits die hard. And couldn't have timed it better if I tried. Right when I sell the last iron import truck, the processing facility is finished. Time to make some usable iron. First we need to add it to the local bus stop, so workers know that they can go there, but before I managed to do it, I got distracted by the coal storage being empty. I decided to give it a bit of time to see if adding more buses is necessary. The heating plants are doing okay on coal right now, so it's not an emergency. Don't worry. We will sort out both coal and the iron processing soon, once I realized that I got sidetracked. I wanted to give the pipes a better chance of being finished in this episode, so I went around and disabled the new housing blocks for the time being. We will discover a glaring issue that we will need to fix before they can be useful anyways. And a couple more segments got built on the oil road, so it's time to remove more side connections. In fact, we are so close to finishing the whole thing, that I'll stick around until I can remove all of them. There we go. Once we get around to building the oil fields, these roads will help speed things up considerably. Okay, so coal production doesn't want to bounce back. Time to add a 4th bus to the line. This will tackle the coal side of the steel equation. Not long before I realized that I forgot to assign the iron processing to the bus stop. While we wait around a bit for the pipes, let's beautify the area around the new houses. When I get around to replacing the roads in the middle with something more pleasing to look at, we might end up deleting a few of these, but the good thing about trees and bushes is that they can be replanted. We will need to start using this oil drop-off station fairly soon, so I'll go ahead and build it now. And to be able to finish the other side of these junctions, we will need one more turnaround point, so the track layers can reach them. Speaking of which, this one served its purpose. We can delete it. At this point, I decided to go around and get rid of all these superfluous nodes littered around the rail network. I'll simply place a signal on them, and once they are removed, the nodes will be deleted. There will be a few that cannot be removed this way, because they are too close to other tracks and junctions, so I'll have to learn to live with those. I wish we could do this for roads, but I yet to find a way to get rid of unnecessary nodes without having to rebuild them, either from scratch, or through upgrading them. Anyways, that should be all the ones I can reach. And while we're here, since we are building the oil drop-off, let's build the station for the pickups too. The roads are upgraded to gravel, so it should be done relatively quickly. While we were busy with the nodes on the tracks, one of the pipes got built. And the other one is halfway done too. The iron storage is half full, and the coal is well on its way to being filled back up once more. This is where I finally realized that I didn't get around to linking the bus stop and the iron processing. Of course, I'll keep giving the firehouse the priority, so we don't end up having to rebuild any of the expensive stuff around here. However, I am not satisfied with the number of workers that managed to reach the place, so I'll add 2 more buses to the steel mill commuter line. Plus, I'm not happy how the stops and the line info window still shows the town stations in a different color. While unloading is disabled, The transfer option is still technically ticked, so I'll go through the passenger lines and fix it. Okay, so this is the issue that will force me to do the unspeakable. When checking the walking distances, almost none of the new houses could reach the nearest bus station. There is little point in expanding the population if they cannot get to their place of work. The thing I try to avoid using in games like this is too many underground roads and footpaths. I've seen people hide ridiculous underground road networks in cities' skylines, and that always rubbed me the wrong way. Tunnels are incredibly expensive, especially in urban areas, so using them too much felt more like an exploit rather than a solution to me. Now, the thing you need to know here is that the game crashed not long after the last autosave, which was on the 18th of July. This time, I'm a little glad that I could justify rolling back the game to this point. I tried desperately to use regular footpaths to shorten the distance people had to walk, but I never managed to make all the towers reach the bus station. So, as a result, I am now giving myself the permission to build one underground footpath. As I have said, my main objection to the use of these was that they offered cheap solution to traffic problems in other games, like City Skylines. But here, they need a hefty amount of bricks to be built, and they take quite a bit of time to finish, so I will allow this one. I sincerely hope this is a one-off, and I can avoid resorting to this in the future. The combined recording time was at 1 hour already at this point, and I was ready to call it an episode, but I really wanted to finish building that pedestrian underpass. I will chime in from time to time, but most of the remaining runtime will be just music, while I speed up the footage to 2 times speed. As I have said, the biggest resource requirement for this project was bricks, for which I increased the import rate previously. Once the second heating pipe is finished, it will be the only active construction in the Republic, so we can dedicate all our efforts to it. I decided to remove the asphalt plant from the bus stop assignments. Only 5 workers got freed up because of it, but for this area, it's not nothing. Here, I just wanted to see how a fountain would look in between the houses, and I'm more and more convinced that is what I will put in the place of the gravel roads. With the underground footpath so close to completion, I'll head over to the oil fields and unpause the pipes and the storage tank. The pump jacks will be built on an individual basis. I decided not to do it all at once, since our oil consumption is low anyways. All will be built for the sake of exports, but I'll do it slowly, so we have some construction capacity left over for more local projects. And it's done. The new houses have a direct connection to the bus station. Only one of them is out of reach, but I can already tell you, it will be an easy fix for the next episode. For now, I'll unpause 3 of them and build the rest as they get completed. The coal and the iron reserves are refilling nicely, so that is one less thing to worry about. We have a couple things to look forward to in the next episode. One is that we are likely going to finish building the relevant parts of the rail network, so we can start placing signals. I also want to add an exit to the oil drop-off station going towards the southern border crossing, so we can sell the excess production more easily, without having to go through the busy tracks around the town. I also want to start moving the steel distribution towards the construction yard, instead of the border. We have a pretty big open storage yard there, so we can use it to store more steel, hopefully lowering the imports resulting from big bursts of expansion. By the way, we have a bit of a surplus building in the clothing warehouse. We can add one more truck to the distribution/export line. Anyways, I also want to add maybe one more dumper to each of the quarries. The train is barely able to keep up with the current rate of constructions, and the current bottleneck is the lack of raw stone throughput. And of course, I want to replace the gravel crossroads in front of the new houses with fountains. I can place some asphalt textures around them, and make them look like they are part of the 3 interconnected towers. I think it will look good. Lastly, the Crime and Justice update was released for public testing, right when I reached the end of editing the commentary for this episode. I already ran a test, where I just let things go without my intervention, and I was very pleased with the results. Our happiness leveled out at around 80%, and loyalty kept going up, and it was still climbing above 55% by the time I decided to stop the test. Still, I think I'll wait until it reaches the stable live branch. It never happened to me when I played the test branch for earlier updates, but this time the stakes are too high, and I really don't want to accidentally break the save files for this series. I'm really looking forward to it though, it looks very promising. Anyways, I hope you liked the video. If you did, dropping a like and subscribing to the channel just might motivate me to make more. Until then, see you later.